as a writer.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So we need to get to know you first. Who are you?
Yeah, well, I'm Icelandic. And I never thought I was going to be a writer. But I have both in academia. I have the first job I thought I would have was like a lecturer somewhere in the university. Because for the first 30 years of my life I was in university studying and finished a PhD in criminology from Cambridge. But then I decided not to continue in academia and went into the police. And I was a police officer for some years. Then once I finished being a police officer, I've been working as a private researcher for law firms. So basically some of my old colleagues say I've joined the dark side.
Have you?
No. I'm on the other side of justice. But I've been also writing since 2008. 2007, 2008.
So why did you stop writing?
I was reading a book, a crime novel, which is basically what I read. I read a lot of crime novels, and there was this one thing in one book which was absolutely not correct. So I thought, well, maybe I can have a go. So I started practicing and started writing on my own in the evenings just to see if I could. So that's when I started.
So you actually found something wrong according to police work, or?
Yeah, according to police procedures that were in the book. It was a slight mistake. It didn't really make any difference to the book I was reading. But I was thinking maybe I can use my experience from the police and also from my background as a criminologist to somehow combine this in writing crime novels.
Does this mean that everything in your book is accurate?
It's a novel, so it's a fiction. It's a fictional story, but it's based on real procedures and real life experiences, and a lot of the scenes or the things that take place or happen in the book are actually based on real life experiences.
Yes, and that brings me to your characters. How did you create them?
The main character.
I want the honest version.
Yes, the main character, David. He is a mixture of a few of the police officers I've met through my work. So
including yourself, or?
No, it's but of course, as a writer, you always put something of your own personality, probably, and your own experiences into your characters. But it's a fictional character. He's not me, and he's not a specific person. He's a figment of my imagination. But he's based, for example, the way he looks in my mind resembles a specific police officer, but it's a fictional character.
And the other characters, will some people recognize themselves?
No, I did. The story takes place within a lot of the time within the police headquarters in Reykjavik, but I try to avoid just using regular people, or real life persons. So they're all of them creation of fiction.
You mentioned David, which is your main character.
Yeah.
How would you describe him?
He's very focused. He doesn't drink, so he's.
That's unusual.
Yes. He doesn't take a sip of wine or vodka in the entire book. He drinks in the second book a little bit, but he doesn't have a problem. But the reason why he doesn't drink in the first book is because he's very focused, and in real life it's very difficult to investigate cases if you're always drunk. So he has a university background. He's also he used to work in a bank, like one of the old, the fallen banks in Iceland. So he's a bit of an outsider within the police. And also he has, he's married, but there's a problem within the marriage. So he's trying to avoid everything.
And David he's really focused on finding out what happened.
Yeah, because he comes onto the scene, he sees this body of that woman, and from the beginning he's convinced that she was killed and she was dumped in this small shed in Reykjavik. But everyone around him doesn't believe him, so he has to fight his superiors to get permission to investigate. And also, as the story progresses, he encounters corruption within the police, the way they practice police work, and because his investigation takes him close to corrupt police officers, which then try to shut him down. So, and the corruption is actually based on that part is actually based on a real story in Iceland. So that's the main idea.
Yeah, because we're not giving away too much by saying that David is investigating himself. And I know this is something you don't usually talk about in Iceland, since we're in Norway. This actually happened to you.
Yes, I was myself investigated by the police after I left the police, because I was charged with collaborating with an estate manager, like manager of an estate of one of the fallen investment companies. Allegedly, we were said, me and my partner, my business partner, we said we were giving out information, and it basically took us 10 months to prove our innocence. We did nothing else for 10 months. So then we had all the system that we had usually been a part of, basically coming after us. So that experience is, well, I wouldn't want to go through it again, but that is being used by me in the second and the third book, because this is first part of the trilogy, this book.
And even though you read a book already or are planning to read it, you have one more thing in common with David. There's a scene in chapter 8, which I like to talk about because it's a scene that you would probably think is just his imagination, but it's not.
No, it's based.
Can you tell us about the scene?
Yeah.
Because this happened to you also.
Yeah, it's a fairly close portrayal of a scene that actually happened in one of my cases. I was with the drug unit and we were staking out the house, and we were waiting for permission from the legal department or the prosecutors department within the police, from the judge, so we could go in. And so we were on the lookout, so we were monitoring the place. And then a thing happened, so they actually realized that we were watching the house. And then we had to, I had to decide, okay, we have to go in. And he yelled basically on the radio, we have to go in now, because they are throwing away the drugs, they're going to put them in the toilet. And it took me a few seconds to run to the front door, but 3 or 4 guys from the drug unit were there before me. They kicked in the door, and then they all went yelling into the darkness on the first floor. And I just couldn't believe it. They just left me there. So and there was a staircase going up to the second floor, and there was no one going up the staircase. So I had to go upstairs, and there was a guy there throwing out the drugs through the window. And I stopped in the doorway, and I just yelled, "Freeze! Police! Just drop everything."
Does that actually work?
Well, he froze, and so he turned around. And he had a knife in his hand, and I could see from the light outside through the window. And then I just screamed at him, just drop the knife, and then he did. After very many long sentences. And then the knife goes into the floor. And that's actually one of the scenes from the book, more or less accurate.
So reading it, you should know he actually was there. You said already, and I'm so glad you did, that there will be more books about David.
Yep, I'm writing number 2 now.
Mm-hmm.
That takes place in, begins in Reykjavik, but then the plot moves to Cambridge in England, because David is called to help with the English police, with an Icelandic person that has been killed in Cambridge. And he gets involved with all kinds of things, because one of the topics in the first book is surveillance, because David uses a lot of surveillance methods to investigate this. He's always listening to people's phones, to their houses, to rooms inside people's houses. But then he encounters a lot more sophisticated methods, and because there's a topic that goes through all the 3 books, which is a discussion or this surveillance of authorities. The authorities, they have these great surveillance possibilities, and so it's a bit of a critique probably, or at least something. Or the books, hopefully they give people something to think about. Is this a good thing, or is this really necessary, or is this maybe an intrusion into our lives which is not much governed or regulated or supervised by other people than the police themselves?
I really like David. I really like the book Overwalk-It. I'm looking forward to read more about him. Will you be signing books later on? His books, if someone wants. Before I say thank you, Jón Óttar, when you found this little mistake in the crime novel that you read and decided to start writing yourself, did you ever imagine that some years from then you would be traveling around with the Icelandic queen of crime, Ilsa Sigradóttir? No. Well, you are now. Yeah.
So no, I never thought I was going to be a police officer. I never thought I was going to be a writer. So, but who knows? In 5 years, I'll do something else.
We are glad you started writing, Jón Óttar. Thank you so much.
Thank you.